Welcome to Botanical Trails Through the Juniper Forest. I'm your host, Brian Heater. Each week, I'll have a different guest join me to explore a pair of interesting gins. We'll chat a little bit about the gin and the distilleries, throw in a bit of trivia, hopefully laugh a bit, and then we'll go off the beaten path. Although I say that this is a podcast about gin, really this is just an excuse for me to spend time with my friends. But that'll just be our secret. Okay, let's start exploring. All right, welcome to today's episode, which will be episode 2 of season 3. I have a returning guest. It's Angie Wachowski. Angie, thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here, Brian.
So, and you and I have nicknamed this episode the PP episode.
Yes.
Because you recently were in Poland for work, and you brought back a gin from Poland.
Yes.
That we're going to try, and then I ended up finding, well, originally I was trying to find a gin also from like a Warsaw Pact country, and that was a fail. I could not find one. But then I stumbled across a gin from the Philippines, and we grabbed that. So we'll go with 2 gins from countries that start with the letter P.
Yes.
So,
although the Philippines is kind of, a trick because people,
a little bit.
The pH. Yeah. But we got you.
So, our first gin is the one from Poland. And let me see if I can pronounce this correctly, because I called my teammate Gosia, who immigrated here from Poland. So it is Microgozelnia, which I think stands for micro distillery in Polish. Okay. So
Microgozelnia?
Yeah.
All
See,
right.
you did 10 times better than I just did. So okay.
You just got to say it fast. Okay.
So this is the
sipper. All right, I'm smelling it. I'm not getting a lot of botanicals out of my... We're both like,
I'm trying to see. So let me tell you about
it's definitely got some burn.
It has a little burn.
Yeah.
Yes. So for this gin, they only use botanicals that are found in Poland.
All right.
So, and it's kind of an interesting variety, because I'm just guessing they don't have a huge plethora maybe of botanicals to choose from. So the botanicals include pine shoots, elderberry blossom, wormwood, burdock, willow bark, angelica, chamomile, yellow melilot. It's like Melilot. I'm not sure. Hops and slow blossom.
Slow blossom. Elderberry's interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I've not seen willow bark or burdock before.
You've seen wormwood?
Or pine shoots. Yes,
wormwood,
one of the ones I think it had wormwood before. So,
all right.
And then I made the cocktail. And the other interesting thing is, I can't remember if I came across this on their website or if it was in Ginventory. I'm not sure if this one was in Ginventory. But their recommended way to make a gin and tonic is to use like Indian tonic. So I use the premium light, because before we know it'll be swimsuit season. Yeah. But they say to garnish it with a slice of apple.
All right.
So that's what I did. So we can try this cocktail. Now, we just opened this bottle, so I have no idea how this is going to taste.
Brian's going blind on this one completely.
Yeah.
Because I just brought the bottle today.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's kind of light and refreshing, actually.
I think it is definitely good with the Indian tonic.
Yeah. I wasn't sure what the apple garnish was going to do, and obviously I couldn't like squeeze the juice in there, so to speak, but I actually like that.
I know.
So
it's good. I know. I keep like... It is good.
Yeah.
It's... But, I was a little nervous, I'm not going to lie, having never tried the gin, right? We're building a whole episode
a little bit of a crapshoot,
on a blind tasting of a gin we've never had.
No, it's good. And I love that it reminds me of the gins I brought back from like France and Germany when I went on that river cruise. Like, it's Europe, so
the tiny bottles.
Yeah, the smaller bottles. So, real quick, the distillery, if I remember correctly, has the same name actually as the gin. Mm-hmm. So that...
what was it?
Microgozelnia.
Say it again.
Microgozelnia, which I think is not correct.
Grozelnia, I think is what it was.
Yeah. But they are, from what I could tell, because I had to translate this whole thing because it was in Polish, so we're trusting
Google Translate or ChatGPT.
We went with I think it was Google Translate, so we're trusting that. But I believe it is the smallest distillery in Poland. They're based in Warsaw. They opened in 2019, from what I could tell.
Okay.
What they make is just gin and vodka. And the distillery was started by like 12 friends, but it didn't like list them or anything, or kind of how they came up with this idea. But they make a pure rye vodka, and then 4 different varieties of their gin. Now, their bottle design and their logo have won like awards over there in Europe for the design of it. So, and yeah,
and to be able to see a picture of the bottle on the Botanical Trails Instagram.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and then, like I said, the name of the gin and the distillery stands for sort of like micro distillery, and their catchphrase or kind of branding is "consuming good company."
Oh, hey, cheers to that.
Yeah, which you're always good company.
Always good company.
So, now you picked this up on your most recent trip to Krakow.
Yes.
Is that correct? Now, how many times have you been there?
Twice. I've been to Krakow twice, both times for work, and I have some teammates there. And we came across this gin because Bartosz, who is, I jokingly refer to as the Polish Brian Heater, was helping me look for some uniquely Polish vodkas to bring back to another coworker. And he found this little kind of, boutique-y spirit store, and when we were in there buying the vodka, I saw the gin on the shelf, and there was only one bottle, and I was like, is that gin? And the guy was like, yes, and I'm like, I need that too. And so for the Botanical Trails, the whole purpose. So,
I was super happy because it seems to be hard to come by gin in Poland, just because I think they have such a focus on vodka there. So now, when you've gone there for work, have you just stayed like in Krakow, or have you gotten to like explore other parts of the country? I've always
stayed in Krakow because there's a lot to do in Krakow. Krakow's a really cool city, a very cool city. The amazing thing about that is you can completely navigate the city speaking English only because...
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because almost everyone you encounter speaks English. They teach English, like, from elementary school, right? Like, one of my teammates there, was an English major in Polish university. So really easy to get around. It's got a lot of history in Krakow. There's this great, Krakow Center. So I've been there twice, right? Once was in early December, so they have this giant Christmas market in the town square, which is very cool. And then I was there again this fall, and both times have done driving tours of the city. I think there's great food there. There's a lot of young people. There's a lot of universities there. So, and at least from the part I've always stayed in, near where our offices are, and what the area they call the Old Town, incredibly just walkable city as well, to get to cool things to do, and so it's a lot of fun. And
haven't they sort of, I don't know if it's just Krakow, but I thought sort of Poland in general has become a place where a lot of companies base their their call centers or their shared service center type things. Yeah, because, so a lot of people are so I think there's probably gives it a bit of an international flavor then as well, would be my guess.
Yep. So. And a lot of companies, because of there's such a good young college educated English speaking workforce there, right? That there's a lot of people looking for opportunities to work. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. It's a very cool city because even though it was under German occupation during World War II, it was never bombed like Warsaw and some other Eastern European cities were. So I haven't been to Warsaw, but they say, if you compare Warsaw to Krakow, Krakow still has a lot of its original architecture. Oh, okay. They've done a lot to protect it, whereas Warsaw, where it was bombed, right, when it was rebuilt under, communist and Russian influence, so all of that beauty and history went away into gray buildings, right? Gray square buildings with few windows, right? But Krakow's really cool. I've toured, both times I've been there with the different groups. We've done the tour and saw the Jewish ghetto from World War II and and the memorial that they have there to represent the people whose lives were lost. And it's not that far from Auschwitz. I've never gone to Auschwitz when I was there, just because I feel I need to be in the right headspace to do that. Like, I've been to concentration camps before in Germany, and I just haven't gone to Auschwitz yet, but I do want to see it someday. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned one thing. You had said you had been to the Christmas market there.
Yeah.
Now, we've started a thing like in Grand Rapids.
Yeah.
The past 2 holiday seasons, we've had like a little Christmas market. Is our sort of is it like just a much bigger version of that? Is that sort of how it is, or is it just like what we're trying to do here doesn't even touch like
what you're trying to do here doesn't even touch that, right? Because I mean, this is like
it's just so much bigger,
bigger, and just like even what they sell. Like, I bought a leather coat at the Christmas market, right, from a stand of like a leather
producer,
like not like a producer, like it's like a hand, like it was like handmade, right? Like yeah. So and there's like
a leather artisan. Or
yes, like that's a good way to put it. Like like a craftsman versus hey, it wasn't like we're moving the Gap out onto the mall or something, right? It's like it was like totally.
I almost choked on that peanut. Yeah. That was a very funny comment.
And a lot of like the other thing I buy when I'm there, Polish pottery. Polish pottery is so amazing. They're like known for it. It's beautiful. It lasts well. It's all hand painted and then glazed, but it's also like dishwasher and microwave safe. Oh, okay. They're like, so the first time I was there, I bought a lot of Christmas ornaments and things like that. And then this time I bought a couple more platters, and I was there near Halloween, so I actually got some really cool Polish pottery, like Halloween decorations, like pumpkins and a ghost and things like that for my friends who are Polish. So, and awesome. Their favorite holiday is Halloween. So,
okay.
Yeah. So there's like just very cool things,
Yeah. No, I've never been there, but everyone I know who's been, not just to Krakow, but like Poland in general, has always just had like good things to say about it. And then I've gotten to learn a bit more about it with Gosha being on the team. Yeah. And
you got to go to Krakow because, as the survivor of Catholic school in the 80s, right, and 90s.
No, 80s for me.
In the 80s. Yeah. I graduated in the 90s. You graduated in the 80s. Just barely, though. We're not that far apart in age.
I graduated high school in 88.
Okay. God, we are that far apart in age.
Because you're what?
I'm 50.
Yeah, we're like 4 years apart.
Yeah. God, why did I think you were only 2 years older than me? Yeah.
It's my youthful appearance.
It is. But Pope John Paul is from Krakow, right? So on the Krakow tour, you can go and see the first balcony when he, and this is where Pope John Paul said Mass, and John Paul II.
Oh, I know. I can remember being on the playground when he got shot. Because they had to call us all. And
and he had to pray.
Pope got shot.
Yes. So that's really cool. You can see his first church, and there's also hundreds of Catholic churches in Poland because, as the story goes, there was a Polish king who was something of a playa, and every time he had a child out of wedlock, the bishop would only forgive him if he built another church. He had to building a new Catholic church was his penance. So there's like this period of time, and they were just building church upon church upon church. So
that's very funny.
It is funny, yeah. That's what he did. I know. So, but no, it's a really cool city. I like it a lot. There's a lot of employees there, right? We have a big office there, and it's a fun place to go visit. And I've told people who are like kids who are going to Europe to like backpack or things like that, that I'm like, oh my gosh, if you're going to Prague, you should go to Krakow. Or if you're going, go check out these areas. And you can live cheap there. It's not as expensive as other European cities. Right?
Yeah.
If you're going to go there as a tourist, and lots of cool things to see.
Yeah. No, it would be, it would be interesting to go there. There's a lot of places in Europe I'd like to go check out, like see more of Germany. Like I just got a little taste of it, like along the Rhine. I like Cologne. That was like the coolest city I thought that I was in, at least in Germany. I like to get up to Scandinavia, check that out. I like to go see the British Isles. So Spain, for good things.
Spain, yeah. I've not been to Spain, but I've heard good things too.
Yeah, I was supposed to go, and then COVID showed up.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But it's okay, because due to that, though, I ended up getting to go to Morocco with my sisters. So I was either...
And everybody goes to Spain. Nobody goes to Morocco.
Yeah, it was
right.
Yeah.
It's like a way cooler thing.
It was it was very fun. And then for like 2 weeks, my youngest sister Amy was like my roommate, and we were 6 years apart, so we didn't spend a ton of time together as kids. So like
Did you have to get up and do yoga every morning when you were with Amy?
Oh, it wasn't a yoga trip. This was just purely like sightseeing. No, because Amy has led trips like that.
I know, but I was going to say, like, did she make you do yoga every morning?
Oh,
like,
not at
Brian,
all.
we're stretching.
Not at all. Luckily,
Come on, Brian. Tree pose. No.
She was more worried, like, would I have enough foods there that I liked to eat? Like in Morocco. But it was great.
Yeah.
It was all like rice and lamb and beef and, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was all good vegetables.
Stuff.
She was just afraid I might starve, but
Are you that picky of an eater?
Time. Her memory of me growing up was a very picky eater. So, and then the other time she hangs out with me are like holidays and stuff. So it's like not a big thing, but she's like, oh no, you're going to be 2 weeks in like a foreign country, or how are you going to do diet wise? But it was fine. It was great.
Always make it work.
Was a lot of fun. And then she's actually coming into town next week. We're going to go see Jack White. He's coming here in concert next week. So.
Nice. Very nice.
Yes, I am excited for that. So, okay. Right. We had chatted that
gin trivia, or wait, cocktail trivia.
Cocktail trivia, yes. So, I will ask you the question.
Okay.
So, this is called Making a Scene. So, it's questions about cocktails made famous by TV or movies.
All right.
Okay. In the 1980 comedy film The Blues Brothers, John Candy ad-libbed a line asking for 3 of what cocktail? So.
Is it multiple choice?
It's multiple choice.
Oh, thank God.
Yes. So, the options are A, a Harvey Wallbanger, B, a Fuzzy Navel, C, an Orange Whip, or D, Appletinis. Wow, can you totally tell this is like from the 1980s?
Say Harvey Wallbanger.
Harvey Wallbangers. Yeah.
3
that's your guess?
Yeah, 3 Harvey Wallbangers.
It was 3 Orange Whips.
Oh.
Yeah.
What's an Orange Whip?
I don't know. We'll have to look that up.
Oh, it's what it was in the movie.
Yeah.
All right.
I always thought the name Harvey Wallbanger, though, was hilarious.
That is funny.
All right.
What's in a Harvey Wallbanger?
That's what we'll have to
go there.
My mom likes them, but I don't remember what's in there because I've never made it, because now Mom just really enjoys like old fashions or an occasional gin and tonic that I'll make for her. So, all right. Well, we will be back with a gin from the Philippines. All right. We are back with our second gin, which is from the Philippines. It is called Arc Botanical Gin. And give that one
cheers.
A little sip. Cheers.
Taking a little step. There's a lot going on in this one. I can smell lots.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of something in that. As you'll see, there's a ton of botanicals in it when I talk about it, but it is...
I feel like there's a little bit of black licorice. I'm using my wine senses now.
Those are much more refined than what I have, so... But yes, now that you mention that, I can... so, what is... it was in one of the gins last week. I'm trying to remember. What?
No.
Yes.
Anise?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Did your grandma ever have those candies when you were little and be like, oh, you think it was like going to be this great candy because it was like in a red foil, and then you open it and you're like, it's gross.
So, I was not able to find much out about this gin, and after we tried, I'll tell the story of how I stumbled upon it. But so it's Arc Botanical Gin from this distillery, which is Full Circle Craft Distillers. This is their flagship gin. Right. And it contains 28 botanicals, so that's why it tastes like fairly complex. 22 of which are foraged across the Philippines. So,
all right.
Now for the drink, I just made kind of what I would consider my classic go-to. So it is Mediterranean tonic and a little splash of lime, and then the gin. So,
yes. Cheers.
Cheers. So let's see.
In the official Botanical Trails classes.
Thanks to you.
Yep. Your retirement gift?
That's all, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's good.
It is good.
It's good.
It is, it tastes a little light. I mean, seems like another good, like, spring, summer, like, sitting outside.
Day drinking.
Type of gin to have.
Yeah.
Sitting in your I love sitting in your backyard.
Yes.
It's so
I did a bunch of yard
relaxing.
work yesterday. Start getting ready for spring.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So, real quick, Full Circle Craft Distillers, they opened in 2018 in Colombo City, Philippines.
All right.
It was the first craft distillery in the Philippines. Just like...
What year was it? 20 what?
2018.
Oh, 18, so just a year
So
before.
just like our little distillery in Poland, they also produce just gin and vodka. This distillery was founded by Matthew and Lori Westphal, and it is a tribute to Matthew's grandfather, Peter Westphal, who had arrived in Manila in 1918, escaping the Russian Revolution.
Wow.
And then he got involved with something over there. So they make 4 varieties of gin and a vodka. And that's sort of what they're known for.
It's good.
So, yeah. So the reason I stumbled upon this one is...
Because there were no other gins from the Warsaw Pact.
Yes, but I went to Smitty's, over in Easttown, because I'd checked Rishi's and Total Wine and Mega Bev, just, people who had a wide variety. I'm like, okay, let me just go see if I can find it. And I didn't find anything. And then I see this, I was like, what is that arc? And I grab it, and it's the Philippines. And I'm like, and so I can't remember. I was out, I'd met Jerry for coffee, and then I was killing time before lunch.
Yeah.
And so this is probably 10:30 or 11 in the morning. And so it's just there's just one guy working in there. And I go up and I'm like, hey, are you a gin drinker? And he's like, I don't know, sort of. And I'm like, have you ever tried that ARC gin from the Philippines? He goes, you want to try it? And I was like, what? And I don't know if they had just gotten there or whatever, but he had an open bottle behind the counter that I think the distributor gave him. And so I took a little taste of it, and I'm like, well, this seems interesting enough. Yeah. Let's go with that.
Perfect.
And then that's when I decided we would do the PP episode.
The PP episode. P squared.
Yes.
Countries that begin with P.
Yep.
Right? Yes.
Which I don't think there are a ton of. Peru.
Palestine. Well, that's controversial.
I can edit it out. Don't worry about that.
No, I think you should leave it. I think you should leave it. Because when you were talking about all the spirit stores you went to, because Rishi's been a guest, right?
Yeah, that was great. Yeah.
Yeah, Rishi's been a guest. So this is where I would put my shout out to anyone who's listening is go to your local store to find your fun spirits like Rishi's or Martha's or Smitty's.
Here in Grand Rapids.
Exactly. Right? Or even if you're not in Grand Rapids versus the big box stores like Total Wine, right?
Oh, yeah.
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 Because those guys, I get it. Total Wine guys are nice and everything, but support your local.
Yes, and then here on the west side, we also have Sicilianos who moved. They're in a new building. They moved a little bit down Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
So.
And when we lived on the northeast side, ours were the Party Cooler, which is still the stand out there on Michigan. They didn't sell on the corner of Michigan.
Yeah, that's where I used to go all the time when I lived in the apartment. Yeah. And they're still there.
They're still there. It's that little tiny building, and then down the block is the Grapevine.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Just the other side of Fuller.
Yep. Yeah. And sometimes in our neighborhood, if we hit one, we go to Mega Bev on 29th Street before we'd go to, or Rishi's or one of those before we go to the.
Actually, I prefer to go in Mega Bev or Total Wine, but it's to get tonic because you can it's a little bit more affordable to get the tonics there.
Yeah.
So and then if there's an oddball gin that I can't find at the other places.
Yeah.
But no, otherwise I kind of get the tonic at that joint, and then I'll go to those local folks to get the gin.
Nice. All right, you want to do your cocktail trivia?
Yes.
I'm curious if you watched this show, because, this
is this another making a scene or whatever?
Making a scene. The character Don Draper from Mad Men caused what classic cocktail to surge in popularity?
Oh, man. Okay.
The whiskey sour, the Negroni, the Manhattan, or the Old Fashioned?
Ugh. All right, let me think. Because I did watch the show. I actually really enjoyed the show.
I did, too. There's a good story about this show and you and I traveling once you answer this question.
Okay, let me think.
Whiskey sour, Manhattan, Old Fashioned, or Negroni? I keep asking them in a different order.
No, that's okay. That was good. I'm going to be pissed if I don't get this, but it's going to be a guess because it's been a while since that show was on. I'm going to guess Manhattan.
It says Old Fashioned. I feel like it was a Manhattan.
Now, if they said that's probably...
But, yeah, was it really called an Old Fashioned in the 60s? I thought they called it something different, and we just called it an Old Fashioned. No, I'm kidding. So, back in the day, Mad Men was one of my workout shows.
Okay.
And do you remember when we were in Washington State, and you were like, oh my God, you're working out again. I'm like, I have to finish this Mad Men. I was like on the bike. And my rule was I could only watch the show when I was working out. So I had to be on the treadmill or the bike or something like that when I was watching it. That's how I watched every episode of Mad Men, was working out.
That was the first time I ever traveled, like, for work.
Yeah.
And do you remember when we arrived? And we were checking in, and they said, we have a room for you. And it was the two of us checking in.
And I was like, yeah, you were like, not together. I have my own reservation. Remember, we got premium rooms at the Moses Lake.
Yeah, like the Moses Lake Inn or something like that.
No, it was like a chain hotel, but it was like something so cheesy. It was like, I want to say it was like the Moses Lake Super 8.
It wasn't a Super 8, because I ended up staying there.
I know.
After that trip, I ended up going out there 3 more times, because we were staffing up
It wasn't
that
a
new
Super 8,
plant.
because they actually had a bar.
Yes, they did have a little bar, and they had a little pool.
Oh, I forgot about the pool.
And then there was like a man-made pond behind it, or something.
I think it was a reservoir. I think that was Moses Lake.
No, I don't think that wasn't the lake. No,
but they did consider it a lakefront view, which was funny.
Yes, that was hilarious. You're right.
Yeah.
It was a lakefront view, and it was like a giant man-made pond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the highway right there, right?
Yeah, that we would
You know
get
what
on
else
to
I still
drive to
have
Quincy.
on my phone from that trip? I think you need to put this in the Botanical Trails Instagram post.
Oh, is it the...
Little Chief's Childcare?
Yeah.
So Brian and I are behind a very large, like, Ford conversion van in our rental car. And I'm like, what is that? And we zoom in, like, I take a picture because no one was going to believe this, but there was a daycare center out there called Little Chief's. And the picture was these two, like, caricature, like, child...
Oh, completely, like, inappropriate.
Like, for lack of better...
We were just laughing, and we couldn't believe, like, that
and
was
one of
their
them's
logo.
like looks like one of them's smoking like peyote or a peace pipe or something, like, and there's like a fire, and like, so we'll post that. I think you need to post that picture in the...
No, just as bad as I don't know, this would have been like probably the late 90s. I don't know, it was one of the, I went up to see Jim, and we tried a couple times to like go camping up in Northern California to see the redwoods, and it was always just like an ill-fated trip. And so this one, we were driving, and the first night we stayed in Fort Bragg, and like that night was great. And then we're driving the second day, and then his car like breaks down, and we're in Eureka, California, and we end up at like a local garage, and there's a picture, like I'd have to find, but it's like an actual picture. This was before cell phones, and it was called Honest Engine. And that was their logo, and we took a picture of us underneath it, and so we had to stay the night in Eureka, California, and then the next day, we didn't know how much this was going to cost to get the car back, and we go back in, and I can't remember, definitely like at least a couple $100 that we didn't have that much cash on us. And I'll never forget this. Jim is like, okay, I'm going to leave him here, and I'll go get your money, but I need the car, and then I'll come back and get him. And Jim left me as collateral at Honest Engine.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, and then...
You didn't have that much walking around money in your pocket? Come on.
Not back then.
Not in the 90s. No, not in those early days.
No. I mean, it was like a couple, like, $100 and stuff, so...
you guys left us...
And then that was it. And then we're like,
I'm
forget
glad
this.
to know that Jim valued you more than a few $100.
Oh, he did. But he was just like... He was like, what's the most valuable thing I could leave here? That's how I like to interpret it in my head.
Yeah, oh.
And he's like, I'm going to leave him. Yeah. And then I'll come back and get him. And then the next summer I went out there, and we were going to stay at this place, and that was just a train wreck too, and that was it. And then we were like, we're never leaving San Francisco property.
You're not going to try the redwoods again.
Yeah. No, because it never panned out, and it was always just a borderline debacle.
Yeah.
So.
That's funny.
But it's always fun to get out.
Little Chief's Childcare, best picture ever. Every now and then.
You just sent it to me.
I know.
Like 3 weeks ago or something.
I know.
That picture.
Because I was like, in my memories.
You were like, look what I found.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun trip.
That was. And you had, remember the team gave you a bag of peanut M&Ms in case of emergency?
Yeah, it was if you got like upset or started getting amped up, they're like, here, give her this. This will calm her down.
Yeah, for some reason, chocolate and peanut, the peanut M&Ms, so we could be like, here, Angie.
So real quick,
all right,
before we go off the beaten path, I think we should, I'm not sure if this will air before then, but our fake work son
Yes.
is getting married in about a month.
Yep.
And
I won't be at the wedding to serve as fake mom of the groom, because I will be at my daughter's graduation.
But I will be there, and I'm actually in the wedding.
Yeah.
And then Thursday, this Thursday, heading out to the bachelor party.
So this won't air before then, so...
Definitely not.
Not a spoiler alert, but, I was at Megabev today to buy that handle of Fireball for you to bring to the young men.
Yes,
for the
I will give it
party.
to those kids, and I'm sure they'll
I still think you need to Smirnoff Ice them.
Yeah, I'll think about it. That was just not my generation. So.
I know, but even if you just brought one, and then they're gonna. The thing is, if you get one of them, then everybody lives on edge the rest of the trip.
But do they still actually make that?
Yes, they make it.
Do they? Okay.
Yeah.
Can Phil hook me up? Does he sell that?
God, I don't know if he's. I think he's still. I don't know. I'll have to ask him.
What good yours? Okay, real quick. Your husband is in distribution for wine and
wine and spirits,
right? What good gins does he have?
What? For putting me on, I'm gonna have to. You're gonna have to have him back for
all right. Well,
this will be a fill episode.
I'll edit this out.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I don't know what's in his book, honestly. My go-to when I'm just gonna have a gin and tonic at home is a regular day Hendrick's and tonic, right? That's my go-to.
Yeah. Now, have you tried real quick? Have you tried that cucumber infused tonic that Fever Tree now has?
No.
Oh, now it's hard to find.
Okay.
But if you can get your hands on that, have that with a Hendrick's.
Yeah.
It's
really?
So good. Yeah, because Hendrick's was one of the first, it was called New World style or American style, where they went away from a juniper forward London Dry.
London Dry, yeah.
And they started emphasizing other botanicals in it. And one of the main botanicals in a Hendrick's that shows up is cucumber.
Yeah.
And a year... I want to say it's less than 2 years ago, or at least less than 2 years ago, maybe, that we could get our hands on it here. Mm-hmm. Fever Tree came out with a cucumber tonic, and someone got me a Hendrick's for something a year ago. And so I went and I was at another one of the little, it's on Plainfield that starts with a B. Anyhow, it's one of our little liquor stores. They have a really good gin selection, actually, too. But they had that cucumber tonic there, and I snagged it, and then a couple of guys were over, and I was like, hey, try this, and boom, it was a big hit across the board. Yeah.
So our good friends from the marina, John and Sarah, who are big gin drinkers, who I told them all about this podcast. So John and Sarah, if you finally started listening, woo-hoo, if we could transport the podcast out there to see them, it'd be great. But they're big Hendrick's drinkers, and they were over for dinner a couple weeks ago, and they actually drink theirs. They make a spear of a spear of cucumber. Oh, so you can use instead of a slice. Yeah. Little spear of cucumber in it, which was nice with their Hendrick's.
Now, do they those variations that Hendrick's has done?
Like the Floridora? Yeah,
they've had 5.
I saw a new one today.
Yeah.
Summer Solstice, maybe?
Yeah, they've been rolling a new one out each year.
I don't know. The Floridora, I can drink one of those.
Okay.
Right? If I'm going to all-day cocktail on gin, or a few cocktails... Let's be honest, I could all day cocktail. But I would do more I would do one of those kind of super infused ones, and then go back to regular Hendrick's or everything else. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good fallback. So, all right. Time for everyone's favorite part of the show. Off the beaten
path. Here, I'm gonna walk.
All right, and we decided you would go first.
Okay.
So, what is your topic today for Off the Beaten Path?
So as listeners know, Brian is a avid reader. In addition to literature and books, he also reads magazines and the New Yorker.
I have a subscription, and before that I had a subscription to Harper's.
Right, yeah. So just good, you appreciate good writing, right? And I would say not just necessarily news reporting, but
a good story.
A good story, a good short story. So I just actually brought you a couple issues of this, because it comes out, I think, 4 or 6 times a year. A magazine that I stumbled upon called The Bitter Southerner, which is really, it has interesting stories, profiles on people or things. I'm trying to think, the one had a whole thing about, what was it that they... not the oranges, did you read it yet?
Oh, no, but I know what you're talking about, because I thumbed through it was kumquats.
Kumquats,
I was joking about it, and I was like, I should give this to Renee.
Yes, because the whole story on the kumquat growers in in Florida. But I just found, so I stumbled upon it, and then I was like, and I found their website, and I was like, oh, this looks really interesting. So I got a subscription because I really enjoy just like the good read. But I was reflecting on like what made me find the Bitter Southerner magazine. And so the Bitter Southerner is actually like this literary kind of magazine, I would say, published, like I said, a few times a year. It's out of a bookstore called the Bitter Southerner in...
Oh, is that where they came up with the name?
Yeah, in Athens, Georgia.
Okay.
And I was like, God, how did I come about this? And I actually went and was like racking my brain, and I remembered because I read something that was written by a woman, a minister, like a Presbyterian minister, and she talked about abide no hatred. And that is like a phrase that has kind of become the motto of the Bitter Southerner. And it came from something that one of their editors wrote in like 2017. Look at us. Everything today's in like 17, 18, 19.
Yeah.
After the white supremacist rally in Charlottesville.
Oh.
And they said that saying I'm against hatred is not enough. That like we as like, you know, white American to white American, I need to look somebody who's speaking hate or racism in the eye and say it's not good enough to like, not to say like don't do that, to say like in my like I abide no hatred, right? And so this Presbyterian minister, this woman wrote about it in like the context of like spirituality and like goodness and kindness. And so that led me down this whole rabbit trail, and I now fly an abide no hatred flag outside my house when we're not flying our Auburn flag. Because I really kind of like that motto, right? And then I got a sticker pack from them. I have a bumper sticker that says abide no hatred that I haven't put on my car yet. And then their other thing, they have things that say like practice radical empathy, which I really like. I just like that message. Abide no hatred, practice radical empathy. And the one that, you know, still, you know, is a little tough for you was what would Jimmy Carter do?
Yeah. I mean, I grew up, I was very much, like, a kid. I was 6 to 10 when he was president, but, but I thumbed through that. So I think you're right. I think it's quarterly because it's like fall. I think the ones you gave me were like fall and spring. So my guess is it's each season. So it's probably quarterly. Yeah. It's an interesting magazine because it's a very oblong.
It's like, large format.
Yeah, it's like, very big. Like it's not a easy.
It's like tabloids.
It's not the size of like a regular magazine. Yeah. It's bigger.
You can't fold it back to read.
Yeah. No, you would not want to do that. But to your point, it looks like a really interesting combination of like fiction writers, maybe some poetry, but then also like these different either in-depth profiles of people. Yeah. Like, to your point, the one you gave me was about, there's a big thing about Jimmy Carter. Yeah. The other one was a big thing about this guy who, I didn't read it, but I think he retired, but he started growing kumquats and something else and some other type of fruit. And anyhow, it looks really interesting. So, I'm looking forward to checking that out.
The one about the kumquats is interesting. Kumquat, Renee, we're saying kumquat like 3,000 times in this episode. Is he talks about how his family is and some other growers are resisting the urge because the property they're on in Central Florida is so much more valuable for developers. Oh yeah. Than it is for like what they produce as far as making a living off of this kind of strangely unique, little known fruit. So yeah. There was one too in one of the issues about a guy in South Carolina, and he actually restored the plantation that his ancestors were slaves at. Oh wow! Yeah, he bought the so it's in one of those. It's just a really interesting perspective, and it's here we sit in Michigan, right, talking about the bitter Southerner, but they're another one of their mottos is like, if we make a better South, we make a better world. Which I thought was very interesting. That's good. Yeah.
Real quick before I go to my topic, because you had mentioned Auburn, so I had meant to send you a text on Saturday. Yeah. Before the game. Yeah. And it was going to be, but I came up with like a variety of things to say because Auburn's motto is War Eagle.
Yes. Or War Damn Eagle, as I like to say, and many people say.
But in my head, I was like, what would be other varieties they could have come up with before they got to actually War Eagle? So at first it was going to be Peace Dove, which obviously would just be terrible. and then it was going to be Chickadee Skirmish. And then it was going to be Battle Hawk, and then I was going to be like, which they didn't like, but St. Louis decided to adopt for the UFL team, and then War Eagle. So
War Eagle. Oh,
but then I got
funny.
busy doing something, and then I was like, oh, I got to text Angie, and the game had started already, and I'm like, she's not going to even pay attention to this. It's lost its thing.
I was
crafting that thing like on my walk Saturday morning. The whole
Chickadee Skirmish is good.
I ran through so many Yeah.
Oh
anyhow,
God! You could use what you could do. Then you could get into the alliteration, like the parakeet parlay.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I believe me. In my head, I was I could run this thing 10 or 12
Oh my
deep.
gosh!
So, but it was good.
The Battle Hawk. What was the other one?
It was Peace Dove. That was the first one.
That was the opposite.
Yeah, that's that's not going to fire you up at all.
Yeah. War Eagle. That's what you got to say. I know. We were in Costco on Saturday in our Auburn gear, and some guys yelling "Roll Tide" at us, and I'm like, "Buddy,
oh, jeez,
you're not even in it. You're not in the Final Four. You just sound stupid right now."
I can't stand. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So for my off the beaten
what's your off the beaten path?
You actually inspired me to go with this. So I was going between two different things. So when my original idea for this episode was going to be potentially Warsaw Pact gins,
yes,
there was a German TV series that I was it's a show on Netflix.
Yeah.
That's what I was leaning towards. But when that bombed out, I was like, what's going to be something? So for the second episode in a row, my off the beaten path topic is a podcast.
Oh.
But this is one that I think specifically for you.
Yeah.
It's called Ologies, and it's with Allie Ward.
Okay.
And basically the premise is she has a scientific expert on for each episode. It comes out weekly, and the topics vary, but it can be anything from bees, that I know you would love, to ancient Egyptians, to this one I listened to this morning was about medieval manuscripts and weird stuff that was written in them. So it's just this huge variety of stuff.
Oh.
So I can't say that I actually listen to every topic, but if something comes along that sort of interests me, I'll listen to it. So there's one on dolphins that during that I learned orcas, killer whales, are the biggest species of dolphin. I did not know that until last year.
Okay.
That they were actually a dolphin, not a spin-off of actually a whale.
Really? Yes. I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
Fun fact.
So her show is really interesting.
Allie Ward's Ologies.
It's called Ologies.
Ologies.
I think it's called Ologies, and then maybe with Allie Ward.
Okay.
But it's and it's sort of funny to say it because it's rated either the top scientific podcast or top 3 scientific podcasts that are out there right now. But if you're not really into science, that's why I think people may not know about it. So, but they're really good and interesting. But the neat offshoot of it is then, so her podcast started in 2017.
Yeah.
And then I think in the early 2020s, she started something called Smologies, which are classroom friendly, and they're much shorter podcasts. They're 20 minutes. There's no bad language or anything in them, but they're geared specifically. You could play it to a elementary school class about
cool.
whatever topic. So, but it is just totally worth a listen. I just follow it just to see what the topics are.
Yeah,
and
if
they had
it
one
interests
about
you,
this.
then you listen to it.
Yeah, this one this heart doctor came on. I listened to his. It was super interesting.
Really?
Every now and then you get just the most interesting stuff that pops up, and it's just an expert in their field. And I don't know if I get the feeling she's meeting with them in person, but I don't know for sure. But it's definitely much more of a conversation. Yeah. But what she must do, though, is let people know beforehand. So I'm guessing it's on her Patreon, group or whatever. Listeners know who the subjects are going to be, because she then shows up with a list of questions for them. And then they'll be hey, what about this? And she'll ask these questions. And sometimes they go so in depth, she has to make it into a 2-episode series. Like it's one, them just covering whatever their subject is.
And then the next one's all the questions.
And the whole second one is all the questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I have a good podcast thing for you, right? Because your podcast is still like authentic podcast, and it's you, me, the microphone. There's no one here recording us. We didn't get hair and makeup done, right?
Oh, no, this
right.
is... Yeah,
but
this is...
what do you think of all these podcasts now that are like the podcast, but then there's also like a camera crew? I don't feel like that's a podcast anymore. I feel like that's a talk show.
It's a spinoff. It's super funny that you mentioned that because this came up on... So one of my favorite podcasts is Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you ever listened to it. Mm-mm. So Conan O'Brien, who people know, I didn't watch his show a ton when he took over for Letterman because I was a Letterman guy. Letterman went to CBS. I just started watching Letterman on CBS. He was on earlier.
Made life easier.
So I didn't, watch a ton of Conan. I mean, I knew that he had been a writer on SNL, and then he was a big writer for The Simpsons, and then he got the gig, and then he did all this stuff. And like a summer or two ago, when I started listening to podcasts more, I stumbled upon his podcast, and at least once a month, he will have me in tears, literally, which is slightly scary because I'm crying, laughing in the car while driving. But he kills me. But it was very funny. He brought this up. He was like, I got done with the show because then he had the late show when he replaced Letterman. Then he got the Tonight Show, and then whatever debacle that was.
And then Leno came back.
Yeah,
right?
and then he ended up having like a show on TBS. And then he was like done. And he was like, I'm done with it. And they're like, oh, well, why don't you do this like podcast? And he was like, okay, great. But I don't like want cameras and stuff. Like I just want to be able to, like you said, like talk. And that's how it started. But it is spun off now into, they have video cameras in there, and it's like, they have a YouTube channel, and he's like, this is like the new version of like these talk shows, sort of. And, I mean...
It's like, get out your Merv Griffin set.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's a way for people to... I think some people just enjoy probably the visual aspect of it better. I mean... This is like the most dirt cheap podcast you could probably do. Like, I literally just plug this microphone into my little Mac and
record away.
Yeah, and luckily I have Darin like produce it and everything. But if I had to think about,
if we ever got a corporate sponsor, we could really take this to the next level. Puma, I'm in Brian's house, and in the room we're doing this podcast, there's at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, we don't need to get into that.
There's 10 pair of Puma sneakers right here.
Just there.
There.
That they're very comfortable. Sort of stylish.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if like the Premier League wants to sponsor us, you're a big soccer fan as well.
Well, yeah, I'm probably more of like a...
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but
I don't know anything about soccer.
No, but I'm like, if this thing blew up, I'm afraid they would need a different host. Like, especially if it goes camera, they need someone much better looking who would then be the face of Botanical Trails. So, but, anyways, I had a blast. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, thank you. And look at all those new podcasts. Yeah.
And
all right, and cheers.
Yes, cheers, and we will see you next time.
All right.
Thanks for joining us. Feel free to subscribe to us on whichever platform you listen to your podcasts. Also, I want to take a quick minute to thank Darin VanderMolen for all of his help behind the scenes. Without him, this podcast probably wouldn't even exist, and his help is greatly appreciated. Hope you have a great week, and we will look forward to seeing you the next time we go down the Botanical Trails. This has been a Shits and Giggles production.